The session is getting recorded now. Now is the time to share the screen. So there you go, guys. So welcome to day 2, everybody, and I hope you had a wonderful day ahead. So let's have a quick recap as to what we have discussed yesterday. So, any of you, can you please come out with some points? Don't use the mic, please use the chat window, and please come out with some points that we have discussed yesterday. Just the heading should be good enough in the chat window. Just type what all you could remember from yesterday. Wonderful. Alok says, we have discussed about functional testing and non-functional testing. Okay. So NFT and FT. Okay. FT and NFT is what we have started with. Okay. Guys, come on. Okay. Cindy could remember AUT / SUT. Wonderful. So AUT is your application under test, or you can also call it as SUT, which is system under test. So any application that you're testing, irrespective of what you're testing for. You're testing for functionality, you're testing for non-functionality, you're testing for anything, you can call that application as AUT or SUT. Okay. So Mohammed says
importance of non-functional testing.
Yes, please be on mute. Use the chat window to type. Okay. I'm sorry about that, but it would because of the background noise, it would disturb. So I'd appreciate if you mute yourself and use the chat window for whatever the topics that you want to discuss. Okay, thank you. Yes, so we have discussed, let me see the points that is, okay, concurrent users, wonderful, concurrent users. Okay, so it's a very, very important term when it comes to performance testing, the concurrent users. Okay, some people call it as concurrency, concurrent users. Okay, which means that at the same point of time, all these users will be using a particular application. Okay, so there are different types of users also we have discussed, which is concurrent users, user space, and application users. Okay, so application user basis. Okay, let me type it here. Different types of users. Okay, so we've started with user base. Okay, all the users who have the potential to use these applications or access to use a particular application, that's the user base. So let's take our Amazon application. Whoever have registered for an Amazon application, that's the user base. Okay, next is the application user. Okay, some people call it as simultaneous users as well. So application users is they're active on the users. They're active on that application called Amazon. Active means they have logged in and they might be doing something on that application. So they might be either ordering or they might be canceling, or some of them could be checking the transaction history, some of them could be changing the username, some of them could be just doing the window shopping. They could be doing anything, but they are active on that application. So who are all the people who are active on that application or logged in and actively accessing that application? Those are application users or simultaneous users, and concurrent users are the ones who are doing the same thing on the application. Okay, so let's say there are 10 people who are continuously ordering that. I mean, they are ordering something on that application. Then these 10 users are the concurrent users. So these are the different types of users that we have discussed. Okay. Mohammed says bottlenecks. Wonderful. Okay. So bottleneck is an issue. Okay. It's the issue with application. Okay. Because of which that application is slow. If an application is slow, definitely there is an issue with that application, and that issue is what we call it as bottleneck. Okay, so if you're doing functional testing and you found an issue, okay, the issue is like it is supposed to function in a certain way, it is supposed to act in a certain way, but is not doing that. For example, okay, when you click on add to cart, that particular product should be added to the cart, but it is not being added. So it is not behaving the way it should, and that's the issue, and that's a part of functional testing. So we call that as a defect or a bug. So when you're doing functional testing, there is an issue and that we call it as a defect or a bug. When we are doing performance testing and you have an issue, we call it as a bottleneck. And if you're doing a system security testing and you found an issue, what is that called, guys? If anybody could remember from last class? Vulnerabilities. Wonderful, Alok. It's called a vulnerabilities. So depending upon the testing that you're doing, the same issue would be called by different names. Okay, different names. So you have to keep that in mind. Okay, not that it will be asked in the interviews, but just that we are discussing, right? We are learning. So let's go ahead and learn certain things. Okay, so now you've got an idea that depending on the kind of testing you are doing, the issue will be called by different names. Okay, now wonderful, lot of topics coming out. Wonderful, guys. This is how I wanted it to be. Okay, so I usually call my classes as dupli. Okay, I can't remember the spelling. Okay, so what does that mean is it should be from both the ways. You see, as you're coming out with a lot of topics, it gives me a lot of energy. Okay, wonderful. So then Vinoda says we have discussed about virtual users, but before we get into virtual users, there's one thing that we have discussed, which is why performance testing. Okay, why performance testing? Why? If the applications are slow, the end users will not be happy. If the end users are not happy, they are not coming to your application. They are not coming to your application, you're losing the business. So that's why performance testing. In that process, as to how to do performance testing, we discussed that the performance testing cannot be done by real users for obvious reasons. Let's say client has given you the requirement that now my application, which is the Gmail application, test it with 1,000 concurrent users. So obviously you cannot call 1,000 people to access Gmail application, and that too for just do some test. Just for testing, you cannot call 1,000 real users and have the 1,000 real users use the Gmail application. That is not possibility, and that is the reason why there is a concept of V users or virtual users. V users or virtual users are, virtual means not real. They are machine generated users. Okay, they are tool generated users. The tool here is the load runner, or there could be other performance testing tools like JMeter, NeoLoad, WebLoad, rational performance testing. Oats is not the eating oats. Oats is Oracle Application Testing Suite. These are all the performance testing tools. Close to 50 of them are there available in the market. So all of them have a capability to create these virtual users. Okay, so what all the real user can do, the virtual user can do. Okay, if it was load runner, these virtual users are generated by a component of load runner called LG. What is the full form of LG? What is the, it's an abbreviation, but what is the full form of LG? Load generator. Wonderful, wonderful. I'm so happy. Load generator. Okay, so depending on the tool, some of the tools, okay, generator. Okay, some of the tools will call this as load injector. Okay, so depend, as I've told you, there are a lot of tools, right? So performance testing tools, some tools call this as load injectors, which will create the virtual users. They call it as load injectors. Some tool they call it as agent machine. Okay, so don't get confused if they start using this terminology in the interviews. Why I'm bringing up all the terminologies? Some people would have worked on other tools like load runner, so they start using the terms like load injector or agent machine. So don't get confused that Kumar never told us about this component or these things. Okay, so they're all the same, but depending on the tools, they call it by different names. In our load runner, we call it as load generators, or popularly, you get into the project, everybody will start using the word LG. In fact, in the earlier days, everybody was calling LG. Then I thought that some of the hardware, probably they would have purchased it from a company called LG. Honestly speaking, guys, this is what I thought. Don't laugh at me, but that's how I thought. For a day or two later on, I realized that LG means load generator. They are not talking about a company. They are talking about a component of load runner called LG. I already knew what is the load generator, but I didn't know that they refer to it as LG. Okay. Then let's see virtual users LG in functional testing. It is called. Okay, wonderful. So now let's see what else. What else topics? Okay, just a clarification. If some users are doing some other transaction but not the same transaction, they will be called as application users, not concurrent. So only when they are doing the same transaction, they are called concurrent users. Yes, Deepak, this is how I have learned. But some people, there is a lot of. I told you, right? There is a lot of what do you say? There is a term I can. Discrepancy in the understanding of these terms. Okay, so Deepak, this is how it is. So when we define it, like this is what is the concurrent users, okay, but some people when they say concurrent users, they might refer it as application or simultaneous users as well. Okay, so you have to look at the situation as to where they are using the term, and you have to understand that. Okay, so in my career I have seen some of the clients, they call it as concurrent users, but they might be actually referring to it as application users. Okay, so there is a fine thin line. You cannot 100% define it, what it is, but as per the definition, this is how it is. But when you start going and people start using it in the real world, this application users and concurrent users sometimes can be used, as a synonyms, So it is definitely not an interview question, but the thing is, depending upon how they are using, where they are using, you have to make understanding out of it. Is it okay, Deepak? Because this is how I have learned, but when I started getting into the project, I realized that, they are referring to application users, but they are calling it as concurrent users. Okay, so depending on how they are using, what they are using, depending on the situation, you have to figure it out. But as per the definition, that's what it is. Okay, but you go to the real world, they use it as synonyms, both application users and concurrent users. Okay, so that's the recap, guys. I'm so happy that most of you have understood everything what was told in the last class. Okay, so today let's get started. Day 2. So install load runner. So this will be your homework as well. So you start installing this tool right away. After the class, I'll be sending you. I hope everybody got the videos. I'll be sending you the folder. You're not supposed to install it from. I mean, you could install it from the website as well. But I'll be sending it folder. I would appreciate if you can install it from the folder. Okay. So let's see. Let's first identify the hardware software need for the installation. Okay, everybody will be installing on your personal laptops, desktops and all that. So let's identify the exact need for it. Okay. So this version, okay, is 12.53. Hang on, guys. So this is not what I wanted, honestly. This is 12.53, but the ones which I will be sharing with you is 12.50. Let me see where is the hardware requirement for that 12.50. 12.50. Hang on, guys. 12.50. Just let me stop sharing, guys. Let me identify the separate requirements document for 12.50. Hang on 1 second, please. So let me pull it out from the internet. Hang on. Okay, here is the thing. Looks like both of them are same. Let me share the screen with you. So I hope you are able to see my screen. So here is the README file, guys. Let me see audience view. Okay, wonderful. Okay, here is the README file for 12.50. So you see, this is the README file for 12.50, and I'll be sharing this particular version with you. Okay, so all you have to do is download it and install it. So you see, you could have, obviously you wouldn't have the Windows Server, you would have these machines. So the operating system, you could have Windows 7 Service Pack 1, you could have 32-bit or 64-bit. Okay, so if you ask me, Kumar, I don't know where to check, if this is a 32-bit or 62-bit, watch carefully, click on the start window, on the My Computer, right click and go to Properties, and in the Properties, you will be seeing over here what OS you have. For example, now you see, for me it's a Windows 7 Professional. It also works. My load runner is installed on Windows 7 Professional. Even though they ask for Windows 7 Service Pack 1, Windows 7 Professional also works. And look at my RAM, it is 8 GB, and you see system type 64-bit operating system. In fact, you could have either 32-bit or 64-bit, so you need not have to worry about it. As long as if it is Windows 7, you are good enough. And if it's Service Pack 1, it's even better. Mine is Windows 7 Professional, it is still okay. Okay, so then if you have Windows 8.1, okay, it has to be 64-bit. It has to be 64-bit. Other people have tried installing on 32-bit, they got into different issues. Some people could actually install it as well. So it is a little debatable as to will it work on 32-bit or not, but he said 64-bit is recommended. Okay, RAM, it's 8 GB. RAM, it's 8 GB, but there are some people who have 4 GB could install it, but the system has become really, really slow. Okay, screen resolution, you could have anything you want, don't worry about it. And IE, you can have any of these browsers, 9, 10, 11. Okay, so hard disk, they say is 60 GB, 50 GB. Okay, that's what it is. Okay, and processing speed 8 cores, 2.2 gigahertz, but as long as it's 2.2 gigahertz, it's okay. Okay, mine is 3.40 gigahertz. This is where you can check. Okay, so don't worry about 8 cores. It's okay. 2.2 gigahertz is the minimum speed that you want, and cores, if you have less cores also, it is fine. Okay, this is for LG, so don't worry about these requirements. Just worry about this. Just worry about this one. Okay, processing speed, Windows either 7 or 8, and RAM is 8 GB, 4 GB also works, but it becomes slow. Okay, so this is what it is, guys. Now the next important question everybody asks. Okay, so this is the README file, where do you download it from? I'll be sharing it shortly now. Okay, so let me complete and then I'll take other questions. I'm seeing questions coming for Windows 10. I will definitely take those questions, but let me complete this. Now, where you download it from? I'll be sending out this particular document to you. Okay, this is the document. I'll be sending it out to you. Okay, so you see load runner installation files with common issues. Okay, so this Word document, I'll be sharing it with you. What you have to do is you have to copy this. Okay, copy this, put it on your browser. Okay, put it on your browser, and the Dropbox will open. Okay, if you never have actually signed up for this is put in the Dropbox. You see, this is put in the Dropbox, which belongs to Google. You have to sign up with Google if you haven't used it. Okay, or you can say no thanks, continue to view. You don't want to create a Dropbox account, just say that no thanks, continue to view. Okay. Okay, so you see this is the file. You see HP Load Runner 12.5 Community Edition .app. What is the community edition? You have a real edition, you have a community edition. Community edition means the load runner has released this edition so that anybody in the world can use this tool for free. Okay, anybody can use this load runner version totally free without any cost, and you get 50 user license, and it's totally free and it's a lifetime. A lot of people will ask me, is it 3 months, 6 months, 1 year? No, this is a community edition, and always remember this is only for training purposes, guys. Whatever you download it from here, it is for the training purposes. Don't use it in the real-time projects. That's what a community edition actually means. Okay, it's for learning process. You have it for lifetime. And what is the version? 12.50. What is the latest version which is available in the market? It is 12.55, guys. It is 12.55. Why am I using 12.50? There are some features which is available in 12.50 which they have taken it away in 12.55. So I wanted to cover those features as well. I wanted you to learn those features as well, which are very, very handy, and it can be asked in the interviews. That is the reason why I recommend to use 12.50. I recommend to use 12.50. Now that you have put down this URL and then you say no thanks, this is the page you will come to. You need not have to sign up. You just say download. Okay, direct download. Save it to my Dropbox. When you say direct download, it will start downloading, and look at the file. It is 1 GB file. So depending on your internet speed, it will take some time to download. Okay, if you have a very fast internet speed, you could take 5 to 10 minutes, or it might take half an hour as well. And it's a zipped file. It's a zipped file. Zipped file means you have to unzip it before you start using it. Okay, I hope everybody knows how to unzip it. If not, quickly I will cover that. Okay, so I don't have the zip file here. Okay, so I have to check where the zip file is. Just okay. So usually this is not the zip file that you get, but usually a zip file looks like this if you have a WinRAR installed. If not, it will show something else. You have to say right click, and if you have a WinRAR which is installed, you have to extract it. You have to extract it. So once you have extracted the file, this is how it looks like. This is how it looks like. You see HP Load Runner 12.50 Community Edition. Again, I am telling you, you can legally start using it. It is not an illegal download. It is a legal download. It is from the company itself, and it's a community edition. Double click, and you say this is the setup file. You see this is the folder, right? You double click on the DVD and you see setup. Okay, double click on the setup, and there are multiple options here. Don't worry about all this because I haven't covered anything about Load Runner. You might not know anything about any of these files. If you want an installation guide, you can get it from here. But I would say it's straightforward. You need not have to go to the installation guide and waste your time. Click on Load Runner Full Setup. Click on Load Runner Full Setup, and you say yes. And you say yes. Okay. And then it will compute the space requirement. It will see everything is good. And finally, once it has done, you just have to say next until it gets involved. Okay. There is one small issue when you start installing this, and that small issue is put down here in the screenshot. Somewhere over here, when you say next will not be, it will be grayed out. Just like you see back, this next will be grayed out. Because by default, this is unchecked. So what I would suggest is once you check it, then this will be highlighted, and then you say next. This is the only problem you will face. This is the only problem you will face. Okay. So some people will have this issue. Error writing to the file. For this, what do you have to do? Before you install the tool. When I said before you install the tool, before you click on Load Runner Full Setup, what you have to do? You have to turn off your antivirus, and you have to turn off your firewall. You have to turn off your antivirus, you have to turn off your firewall. You will turn off these two things only if you start facing some issue while installation. Okay, even before you turn it off, it is fine, but this definitely will cause the problems. If the antivirus is turned on and if the firewall is turned on, it will not allow you to install. I've seen it in several situations. Now, Kumar, tell me, how do I turn off this firewall and antivirus? Okay, so click on firewall here. Automatically, your firewall will open. Okay, I think firewall. Yeah, Windows firewall. Okay, so your Windows firewall will open, and over here you see turn Windows firewall on or off. Okay, so you have to click on this. You have to click on this. Okay, and you have to click on this and you turn it off. So your Windows firewall is turned off. For me, this seems to be handled by some other antivirus, so it is not allowing me. But typically on your desktop, you should be able to click on it and you should be able to turn it off. And antivirus, you see, K7 Total Security is my antivirus. You go over there, right click, and you see Disabled Product Protection. Okay, disabled product protection. It will ask you for the timeline. You might say 1 hour and you say yes. So for 1 hour, antivirus will be on, and for 1 hour, you come over here and you turn off the firewall. Now you are good to go to install it. So typically you might see some issues like this. Now, next question. So I will be sharing this document to you. I'll be sharing this document to you, from which the Word document that I've just opened, I'll be sharing it with you so that you can start downloading and installing. Now the next important question, okay, Windows 10, can I install it? Okay, so I have seen that some people have successfully installed 12.50 on Windows 10 as well. Okay, some people couldn't, some people could, but 90% of the people could install 12.50 on their machines. Okay, so but be mindful that you have to turn off the Windows firewall first and disable the antivirus. Then you try start installing 12.50, and most of my students could successfully install, even though in their README file they didn't mention. You see, in the README file they said it will only support Windows 7 and 8.1, but most of my students could successfully install. Some of my students could install, but while using they had issues. So what I would suggest is, even if you have Windows 10, go ahead and give it a shot and let's see what happens. Whoever having the issue, even after firewalls is turned off and antivirus is disabled, irrespective of the OS, you have issues, please send out the error message to me. After the class tomorrow, we'll try to figure out what it is. For Windows 10, to give it a shot. If it doesn't work out, get back to me. We always have a solution for you. Okay, I have a solution for you. There is Deepak, there is no password. It's not password protected. You can download it. Trial duration, Ashwanti, as I've told you, it is for lifetime. It's a community edition. It's a lifetime. Once you install it, you can proudly use it. It's a legal version and for lifetime, but it only comes with 50 virtual users. Okay. What is the difference between community and normal edition? Deepak, as I've told you, community edition is for the community. It is for learning purposes. You can use it forever, but they will cut down on some of the features. Okay, it's not a full version. It is usually for learning. So any tool, not only just to this tool, any tool, when they give the community edition, they will give some limitation on the tool, depending upon what tool it is. For us, the limitation is number of virtual users. Let's say you wanted to run a test for 1,000 virtual users, you would never be able to do it with community edition. For that, you have to go with full version. Okay, Deepak, I hope you understood what I've told you. Okay. Next one. I have a question waiting from the name. Please display the names, guys. I would be comfortable if I see the name. Now, it's displays waiting for the name. Okay. Please. How do I display the name? Okay. If you have installed the tool, you click on GoToMeeting right there on the top. It will say edit username and email. Just click on that and give the name. Okay. Please do that. Okay. Going forward. So waiting for the name has asked me, do you have the capability to turn on closed captions in the meeting? I don't know. What do you mean by closed captions for the meeting? You have the capability to turn on closed captions for the meeting. I didn't get that question, honestly speaking. I know you are talking something about the GoToMeeting, but are there any captions for this? I don't know. So sorry, I didn't get that question. Maybe you have to be more specific about that question. There's no subtitles. Oh, text for what you're saying. Oh my God, this is, I cannot have the, I don't know if the tool has the capability to understand my text and convert it to captions. I don't think that is a possibility. No. I'm so sorry about that. I know you have a tough time understanding my accent. I have little Indian accent to it, and you have a tough time understanding. But to understand that I'm doing this lecture or the training online, I mean live. And now what you're talking about is the tool having the capability to, while I'm talking, it has to analyze and then give you captions as on the go. I don't think it is possible. So waiting for the name, please tell me what is the difficulty? Is it with my accent, or am I going too fast, or what is it? I mean, what is the issue that you're facing? If you can little explain, I'll try to see what I can do from my end. I might go a little slow, or maybe I can put up some, fake American accent to see, how I can help you out. Um, because I don't, yes, the accent, right? I know. Oh my God. I have lived with my accent this accent all this life. I know it's a hard accent, a hard Indian accent. I'm not sure how can I help you. Cindy, you have the issues as well. You are facing this issue as well. To to understand, you have to pay that much more attention. Oliver, thank you so much for giving that confidence. I'll see. I'll see. Okay. So, uh, so waiting for the name. Can I know your name, please? First, in the first place, because after the class, I'll catch up with you to see what I can do for you. Can I know your name, please? Cindy, I know it's Cindy because it is displaying. But there was one more person, one more student says waiting for the name. So is that you, Cindy, waiting for the name? You see in the chat window, it says waiting for the name. Oh, you have changed the name now. Okay. Okay. Fine. Okay. So that's you, Cindy. Okay, thank you. So I was thinking it's two different people because earlier, the name is displayed as waiting for the name. But there are two Cindys here. I'm totally shocked. Oh, it's a Cindy D and Cindy R. Okay. Thank you so much. So it's a Cindy. Uh, so who is having the issue? Let me see. So Cindy R might be having this issue. Okay. So after the class, let's catch up to see what I can do for you. Okay. So Cindy, is it okay if I mean, yeah. So Cindy D. So Cindy D, if I go a little slow, do you think it will help? So Cindy D, if I go, okay. Thank you. I really wanted to accommodate everybody, every of my students, because I value your time and your passion to study. But I really wanted to see how I can do what I can do. Uh, Let me think about it. Okay. Oh my God. You have a good sense of humor, Sharon. Uh, oh my God. Oh my God. I hope nobody is getting offended by that comment. Uh, uh, I hope it's no offense for anybody. Uh, yes. Okay. So let's go ahead, guys. Let's. It's a nice fun in the class. So okay, so this is about it for the installation, and anybody having the issue with it, please don't bring up in the class. I mean, when I said with it, with the installation, after the class, I'll take your questions separately for this particular installation stuff, and you will be expecting an email after the class regarding the installation. Okay, good luck with the installation. And for Windows, for people with Windows 10 who it doesn't work out for you, there is a solution, but please try 12.50 before we go ahead with the next solution. Okay. Now after the installation, okay. So Kumar, I have installed it. Now how do I know that the installation is clean? Okay. That's what I was coming to ask. Okay, so if 12.50 doesn't work out, only for Windows 10 people, if it doesn't work out, there is the latest version which is 12.55. Go ahead and install it. Okay. So Felicia, I'm talking about this installation right away because the theory classes goes on for the next 2 to 3 days. So we will start using the load runner next week. I hope everybody do know that the class is only for 4 days in a week. So the next 3 days is still the theory session, which means that you would have to be ready by Monday with the installation. Okay. So after the installation, what do I check? Okay, you need to check that. Okay, you need to check that Vusion controller and analysis is installed. Okay, how do I check? Go to Start Menu, go to All Programs, and then you see a folder called HP Software, and then HP Load Runner. Here, check these 3 components are installed. What are these 3 components? Virtual User Generator, Controller, and Analysis. These 3 components are installed. Then you're ready to go. I should have pulled the README file from here. Oh my god. Anyways, so I had to go to the internet to pull it up. But anyways, so make sure these 3 are installed on your machine. Okay, and by the way, every version has a community edition, not just 12.50. 12.55 will have, 12.53 will have, even 9.5. Every version has a community edition. Okay. So let's get started. These are the things that you would check once the installation is done. So here is the guys. Here is the thing. Pay attention. Software architecture. Software architecture. Okay. So guys, we'll take a break and start the new topic, or you're ready to go now? I mean, when I said ready to go, ready to get started with this topic. How do you want me to do it? Take a 10 minutes break and start with this, or you're ready for this new topic? You ready? Wonderful. Okay, so let's go with this. Software architecture. Okay, what is software architecture? Let's see. This example that I'm taking is mostly applicable to people in India, because in US what I've seen is very few people will build their own home or house. They buy it. Somebody else will already get it constructed, and you take the loan and you buy it. That's what the thing in US. But in other countries, if you're coming especially from the subcontinent or other countries, you build it yourself. Okay, you build it yourself. Okay, so it's a huge thing. It's a 1 to 2 years agenda. So you build it yourself, and let's take this example. Okay, now, okay, so so here is the house. You worked as a software engineer, you worked as a software professional, you made a lot of money. Now, everybody's dream, irrespective of the country. I've been in US for 8 to 9 years. and I've been in India all my life, and a lot of my friends are from Germany, France, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, a lot of countries. And one common thing I've observed with most of the people, if not all of the people, is your own house. Okay, you want to build your own house, or buy your own house when you have enough money. That is one of the important things that comes to your mind is, I have to have my own house. Okay, let's say you have to build it on your own. Okay, you made enough money, you were working as a software engineer, you made enough money, now you wanted to build your house. Once you have taken that decision and you wanted to buy and you wanted to build it, right from day one, you will not be buying the bricks and then laying them and start building them. No, you won't be doing that. There is a process for that. The very first thing that you would do is, you go to an architect, not software architect, but an architect, okay, a civil architect, and then you give your requirement saying that, brother, this is how I want my house to be. I want a kitchen, okay, then I have a dining hall, and I want a living room, and this is where I want my television set to be, and I want a duplex house, and I want my bedrooms to be on the top, and this is how big the bedrooms should be, and this is how the bedrooms should be, and I want 3 bedrooms. So these are all the requirements that you give to that architect, and he will be laying that plan. Depending on your requirements, he will be laying that plan on a piece of paper. He will be drawing the whole thing on a piece of paper, and once he is done, he will come back to you, and he will show that picture to you, saying that, oh, based on your requirement, this is how the house will be. This is how your house will be. These days, they are building everything on the computer, and they can show it to you on the computer. Okay, so, and then if you're okay, then you say, yeah, this is wonderful. Now we will start building the house. Okay, so there is an architecture diagram, or there is a proper planning on the paper before you go ahead and build the house. So similarly, the software as well, if you wanted to build it, for building it in software, we use a term called develop. What do you call? Develop. You don't build the software. I mean, some people would even say building the software, but very, very rarely you develop it. A development team will develop it. If it was a house, you don't develop it, you build it. But if it's a software, you would develop it. So before you start developing, let's say a client came and said, I wanted to start an e-commerce application. Then let's say you are the company, you are the software company, you would build it for them. So right from the day one, you don't start developing it on Java or .NET or whatever the programming language. You don't start developing it from day one. As soon as you say, I want an e-commerce application, you don't go to a Java programming language and start developing it. No, there is a process which we call it as software development lifecycle. And one of the very first thing in the software development lifecycle is, requirement gathering, and then we come to the architecture. So there is a process. As a part of the process, they talk about this software architecture. So what is this software architecture? Just like your house, wherein your plan has been put on the paper, here also, depending on the requirements of your client means, whoever is giving you the money, whoever wants this e-commerce application to be built, that guy is the client. So whoever is the client, based on the requirement, you start building it on a piece of paper. Okay, on a piece of paper. Just like over here, they build it on a piece of paper, saying that this is where your kitchen, this is where your bedroom, this is where your washroom is, everything. Here also, you put it on the paper depending on the requirements. You put it on the paper as to how you're going to go ahead and build this particular e-commerce application. Everything comes on the paper, and that whatever comes on the paper, that's what is a software architecture. That's what is a software architecture is. If you want to talk on a in a layman's language, this is how it is. In a layman's language, this is how I could say what is a software architecture. But we are all software professionals, right? So let's put some formal definition to it. Okay, nobody in the interview would ask this, but it's good to know what it is, right? Okay, what is it? Architecture. Architecture is the combination of software and system components and connections. Okay, I've put it as a definition, but at this point of time, this formal definition makes the least sense to you. But I'm telling you, I'll promise you, by the end of this topic called software architecture, please come and revisit this definition. Everything makes sense. Okay, I don't want to spend too much time explaining this at this point of time, because it doesn't make too much sense at this point of time. But again, I'm telling you, after this whole topic is done by EOD tomorrow, okay, come back and revisit this particular revisit this particular definition. Every single word would make sense to you. Please mute yourself, guys. You might be causing some disturbance to the class. Okay, please mute yourself. Okay, it's a very earnest request from my end. I can mute you, but some of you might get offended, so I don't want to do that. Okay, please mute yourself. Okay, so now the very important thing, as a I have signed up for a class called performance testing. Kumar, why is it we are talking about software architecture? How come out of a thin air or out of a blue sky, this topic called architecture came into picture, the software architecture? In other words, as a performance tester, why is it necessary for me to understand software architecture? Let's go. Let me explain. Let me answer this question using an example. Okay, so we'll go ahead and use our Mark. You can say hi to Mark, hi, hello to Mark. So as I've told you, all my examples will be in and around Mark. Okay, he's a very, very good friend of mine, and all my not only this course, all my courses will be around in and around Mark. Okay, so Mark went to a restaurant. He got a software job. Okay, he took a performance testing course. He got a job. He wants to celebrate, so he went to a restaurant, and you see, he's ordering. Said, "Can I get a burger?" "Oh, sir. Okay, sir." Now she went into the kitchen to get the burger done. Okay, you see, the burger is ready. What do you call this lady as? In India, we call them as servers. In US, you call them as servers as well. It's been a while I've been to US. In US, I used to love this restaurant, IHOP. Anyways, so you call them as servers as well in US? If somebody can confirm? You call them as servers, right? Yeah, I believe so. So you see, she bought the burger. Okay, what is the problem here? The problem is, it took 45 minutes for Mark to receive the burger, and Mark is totally agitated, is totally irritated, is totally pissed him off. He's completely pissed off. Why? Because it took 45 minutes for this lady to get this burger. It took 45 minutes for this lady to get the burger onto his table. Okay? So Mark is obviously not happy with the time taken by the restaurant staff. Okay? So by restaurant staff has took a lot of time, so it's not happy with it. Okay? Why? It took 45 minutes for Mark to receive the burger. Okay? So restaurant owner, okay, so Mark has had his burger, and restaurant owner happened to be Mark's friend. Okay, so Mark went and started speaking to him, saying that Mark, as said, obviously has shared his experience, saying that it took 45 minutes, he's not happy, and restaurant owner is also a little worried about it, and he has asked Mark's suggestion. Okay, Mark, can you tell me what we can do to decrease the serving time? I've been looking at it, but I'm not that educated person. I'm not that smart. Whatever I do is not working. So can you please give me some suggestions so that we can improve that time? Like, I want to cut it down to 5 to 10 minutes. Tell me something about it, what we can do. Okay. Now here is the question for you guys. If you were Mark, what would you suggest? If you were Mark, what would you suggest? I want to hear from you in the chat window. Please use your chat window. And please let me know what you would do, what would you suggest to the restaurant owner if you are a Mark. The problem is the burger is taking a lot of time. I want to hear from you. I'm not talking anything about technical here, anything about performance testing. Okay? So I've been getting some wonderful responses. So this is okay. Muhammad says, you have to preheat the burger, which means that you're making sure that most of the cooking is done before customers come in, and then you do it. Wonderful suggestion. Our Cindy is saying more cooks or waitresses, or in other words, increase the staff of the restaurant. Okay. So whether it could be servers or whether it could be cook. Okay. Ashwanti says, be ready with the basic preparation. Okay. Prepare the ingredients before. Vinoda, wonderful. Hire one more cook, wonderful. Preheat, wonderful. First, I want to know what procedures they are following. Yes. This is the one I want to hear. Okay. So, Deepak, I'm with you totally. Okay. This is what, if I were Mark, what all you have given is wonderful suggestions, guys. It could be one of the problems, okay? It could be lack of infrastructure, which means that you might need a lot of ovens, probably. They had only one small oven. We don't know. We don't know what is the problem, okay? It could be lack of infrastructure. As most of you said, it is a lack of the staff or people or personnel over there. It could be lack of ingredients. Maybe every time they are going to Walmart buying the ingredients and making, we don't know what is the problem. Or they might be having a small oven, or they don't have enough knives, they don't have enough people. We don't know what is the problem. The very first thing what you want you to do is, we wanted to understand what is going on in the restaurant, what is actually causing the problem, or can I say we wanted to figure out what is the bottleneck over here. Coming back to the software world, we wanted to understand what is the bottleneck before fixing it. Fixing means you have less number of cooks, hire more than. You have less number of infrastructure. Infrastructure means it could be knives, it could be ovens, or it could be whatever it is. Okay, the equipment. If it's a lack of equipment, bring it. If it's a lack of groceries, they are not buying enough grocery at once. So fix that one. Or there are enough people, but they are not. What do you say? They are not disciplined. Everybody is having fun. They are doing whatever they want. They are going out for smoke every time. We don't know. It could be lack of discipline. There could be 100 reasons why it is taking 45 minutes. The very first thing that you have to do is to analyze what is going wrong. What is going wrong in our software world, in our performance testing world is bottleneck. What is going wrong over here is issue. Okay, it's an example here, right? So we have to analyze, figure out what is going wrong. So yes, and first identify the problem. Okay, so what this Mark should go is, he has to get into the kitchen to see what is going wrong. And he has to look at the overall restaurant. Okay, servers are serving fast enough, they are taking the orders fast enough. The cooks, are they making it fast, or they have enough cook, they have enough infrastructure, they get into the kitchen, and during the peak hour you have to do that. So to understand even better. So peak hour for a burger place could be from 11 to 1 or something like that. So do that. So get into the kitchen and then identify the problem. Once you have identified the problem, fixing, you can always do that. If it's lack of people, hire more people. Lack of infrastructure, buy more infrastructure. Lack of groceries, you have to do it every day in the morning, which will be good enough for the whole day. Lack of servers, lack of software. It could be lack of software as well. You see, you go to McDonald's, you do whatever it is, you just take the order on the computer and the order directly goes to the kitchen and the order comes out, the burger comes out. This could be lack of software. So it could be a lot of things. Identify, fix it. So the very first thing Mark needs to do is to get into the kitchen to identify the issues. So as I said, lack of infrastructure, resources, groceries, or it could be something else. So let me go back and relate this example to our software world. So there the burger is taking 45 minutes. Let's go back. Let's say our application under test is our Gmail application, and you're trying to log in by giving a username and password, and it is taking 1 minute. Let's assume it is taking 1 minute. So there 45 minutes is way too long. For a software application, 1 minute is really long. So it's taking 1 minute, there it's taking 45 minutes, both are bad. Okay, so again I'm telling you, their burger usually will take 2 minutes, 3 minutes. You go to McDonald's, within 3 to 4 minutes you get it done. So the usual good time for the burger to be served is maximum 5 minutes. Okay, even though they're making it fresh. Okay, here also, is there a good time wherein you say if the login is happening by this time, we call it as good. Is there something like that? Yes, 2 seconds is a good time for most of the web applications. So it has to be done in 2 seconds. So here it is taking 1 minute to complete this login process and display the next home page. Okay. So this is so, and obviously there is an issue in the application. There is also, even in our Mark's example, in the burger, in that restaurant, there was an issue. That's why it is taking 45 minutes. Here also there is an issue and it is taking 1 minute. Okay. So as I've told you, whatever is the issue, because of which the login process or any other process is taking a lot of time or is slow, we call that as bottleneck. It is not only for login, you are adding it to the cart, it is taking 1 minute, that is also slow, and we call it as a bottleneck. You enter the credit card details, everything, given the OTP, and you click on the pay button, it is taking 1 minute. That process, that functionality is taking 1 minute, even then there is a bottleneck. So irrespective of whatever the functionality that you are accessing and it is slow, then definitely it is not acceptable and there is a bottleneck. And as a performance tester, you want to make the entire application fast, not just the login process. Over here, I've just taken the example of login process so that you will understand. But as a whole process, you want to make the entire application fast, not just the login process. But here, we are taking login as just an example. Okay? So, there, Mark has to get into the kitchen to understand the problem. Bye. So, there, Mark has to understand the issue, getting to the kitchen to understand the issue. Here, as a performance tester, we have to get into the architecture to understand exactly where is the issue, because of which the application is slow, and for that, we have to learn architecture in the first place. There, to understand what is going on in the kitchen, somebody has to walk through what the kitchen is, right? So Mark's friend, the restaurant owner, walk him through saying that this is where our ovens is, this is where we'll burn our burgers, and this is where we store our groceries, and these are all the restaurants. So he has to introduce to Mark, so that he'll get used to it, to understand where all what it is, and then he can identify the issue. Here also, the very first thing to get into the architecture, to start looking into the issue as to where the problem is in the architecture, the very first thing that you need to do is to understand the architecture. Once you understand the architecture, then you will be able to figure out what is the issue with the architecture. Then you will be able to figure out what is the issue with the architecture. Only if you can understand the architecture. That is the reason why. Okay. That is the reason why we are, as a performance tester, understanding the architecture in a performance testing class. Okay, we are not going to master architecture here, because obviously this is the performance testing class. I'll give you the basic ingredients as to how you can explore and start. I'll give you what all required. Okay, so it should be good enough, but you can take these basics and you can start exploring, going really deep into it if you want it. Okay, but whatever is taught in the class, it should be good enough to break the interviews. It should be good enough for you to start working in the projects. Now you see, our Mark, it took really long time. I didn't expect this. Okay, so our Mark, go back to our Mark example. That story didn't ended yet. So once the burger is received, what did Mark say to the server? Said, "Oh, it took really long time, lady." That's what he said. Okay. And what is the lady responded? "This is the peak hour, sir. This is the peak hour." Peak hour as in, what is the peak hour means, guys? Can somebody tell me? What is the peak hour? What is she telling here to Mark when she said this is the peak hour? What is she saying? Main working hours. I want to hear from all of you. I want everybody to speak and not speak, but put your comments in the chat window. Okay, the busiest hour, the rush hour. Yes, exactly. So this is a peak hour, means every restaurant has a peak hour. So typically it could be, if you're in US, it could be between 12 and 1. That's when most of the people will have lunch. You start in US, people start the work at 8 o'clock. Okay, somebody in India, I'm talking to you. You're in US, obviously you know it. But people from other countries, I'll tell you how the work culture is. They sharply start, most of the places they sharply start at 8 o'clock, and before 8 o'clock they will have the breakfast. So 12, usually 12 to 1 is lunch hours. That's what I believe. So some people it could be 2 to 3, some people it could be 1 to hour, 1 to 2. But I think the busiest hour, the rush hour, I would say maybe 12 to 1 or 1 to 2. What do you say, guys? 12 to 1 or 1 to 2? 11 to 1. Sri says 11 to 1. 12 to 1. Yeah, 12 to 1. That's what I thought so. Mohammed says 1 to 2. So let's go with some number. The 3 people who said 12 to 1, let's go with 12 to 1. Ayo says 1 to 2. Okay, let's still go to 12 to 1 because 3 people. You see, we are Democrats, right? A democratic world. So, so 12 to 1. Let's go with 12 to 1. So looks like 12 to 1 is the time. Okay. What is the peak hour? That's when you have the maximum customers, or rush hour as you said. So just like for the restaurant you have a peak hour, for the applications also there is a peak hour. There is a peak hour wherein maximum number of users will come and use the application. Let's go back to our Gmail application. For Gmail application, probably the peak hour could be in the evening, because a lot of people will come back from the office. They want to comfortably sit and then start looking at their emails. Probably 6 to 7 could be the peak hour for Gmail. Just my assumption. I didn't work for Gmail performance testing, but let's assume 6 to 7 is the peak hour for our Gmail application. So performance testing is always done for the peak hour. So whatever is the peak hour is the maximum number of users. With that kind of users, we do the performance testing. What is the reason? With that kind of users, we do the performance testing. Is there an obvious reason for that? What do you think is the logic behind that? What do you think is the logic behind that? Why is that performance testing is done for the peak hour? Any idea, guys? Any idea? I said performance testing is always done for the peak hour. What do you think? What could be the reason for that? Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. By the way, you can use the same link tomorrow as well, guys. So I've got some messages today morning. Should we use the same link? Yes, unless until intimated to you through an email, continue to use the same link to joining from tomorrow. Okay, these are some questions which have been coming in, which has been asked to me. Yeah. So until you have been intimated via an email, continue to use it. Okay, same link. So I said, during the peak hour you have the maximum users. When you do the performance testing with the maximum users, and let's assume the application is working fast, this is the guarantee you can give to the client that if it is working fast in the peak hour, it will definitely work fast in any other hour, because it has successfully worked fast in the peak hour. So this is the reason why we always do performance testing for what? For the peak hour. We do performance testing for what? For the peak hour. In our case, for Gmail application, assuming that it is 6 to 7. 6 to 7, what is the maximum number of concurrent users are there? With that kind of concurrent users, we do the performance testing. Now, some people will ask this question, when I do the performance testing, I should start exactly at 6 p.m. I don't usually work after 5 p.m. No, I don't want you to start the test at 6 p.m. But what I'm saying is, whatever the load that is being experienced between 6 to 7, with that kind of load, you have to do the performance testing. You can actually do it in any other hour, but with the same kind of load, the application is being experienced between 6 to 7 with that kind of load, you have to do the performance testing. Okay, and then you see if the application is working faster. Okay. Oh, we took the Amazon example here, even though I said Gmail. Here I took the Amazon. So for Amazon.com, the peak hour could be 6 to 7 p.m. because that's when people would relax and then they come back home and start browsing. Okay. So now that I have established as to why as a performance tester we have to understand the architecture, the next important thing is to understand is what is a server. What is a server? Okay, as a manual tester, you have been hearing this term time and again. As a business analyst, you have been hearing this term time and again. But let's try to understand this server in depth. But before that, I'll take a break. I've been talking in here in India. It's summers, and I need some water and a cup of tea. So let me take a break of 10 minutes, guys. So it's 7:42. I'll come back at 7:52 India time. I'm talking about India time. Exactly in 10 minutes, I'll be back. So you can grab your coffee, tea, or whatever you want. I know it will be little too late nights in some of the places, especially it's an Eastern Standard Time. Hold on to it, guys. So we'll be wrapping up the class in probably in the next half an hour to 40 minutes. Okay. I hope the class is interesting. And if somebody want me to stop it, please let me know. Okay. Don't hesitate because the class is for everybody. So I'll take the allocated 1.5 hours, and after that you want me to stop it, please let me know, so I'll take the decision accordingly. But the expectation is take a 10 minutes break, and after that the class will go for the next half an hour. So I'll put you on mute and I'll stop sharing the screen and I'll stop recording. One of you please confirm if you are able to hear me. Hello, hello. Yeah, thanks, Alok.
Speak.
Thank you. So now, as I've promised you before the break, we'll start looking into the server. Okay? We'll try to understand instead of formally defining it. In my classes, understanding is more important. That's how I have organized all my slides and all that, and my training. If you want a formal definitions, you can always get it from Wikipedia, guys. So that's not my intention to put the formal definitions over here. My intention is to make you learn that particular concept. So overall, all my slides will be will be around that. I mean, with that intention of explaining it to you. So if you want some formal definitions, you can always go to Wikipedia and get it, irrespective of whatever the topic it is. Okay. So here is the definition what I think is right for the server. Okay. So server is a software. Okay. When I said software, it's a computer program. Okay. Forget about this. I'll talk about this a little later. For now, just ignore that. So a server is a software meaning a computer program which understands your request, process your request, send the response back. Process your request and send the response back. So to understand this internally, let's go back to the same example of Mark. Okay. Now what did Mark ask? Can I have a biryani or a burger? Biryani is a very popular dish in India. So let's go with an Indian dish this time around. So I hope everybody have tasted it at least, heard about it. Okay. So can I have a biryani? So what did the server said? Yes, okay. Okay. So in order to serve this dish, which is biryani, the server here first, what is the first thing? She needs to understand the request. The server is not the software server we are talking about. Here we are talking about the hotel server. The hotel server. I love chicken biryani. I love that as well. So we are talking about the hotel server here. We're talking about the hotel server here. So she needs to understand the request. That's the first thing. Now she needs to process the request. Process the request as in In other words, server needs to get the biryani done, right? So she has to go to the kitchen, she has to give the order, and she needs to make sure the biryani is done. So that's what is processing the request. Okay, what was the request? What was the request? That I wanted biryani. Biryani is the request. So she understood that, and then she has to process the request. Means that she needs to get the she needs to get the biryani done. And once the processing is done, she has to get the biryani onto the table. She needs to get the biryani onto the table. So there are 3 steps involved. First is she needs to understand, she needs to process is to get the biryani done, and third is to respond back, which means that she's to get the biryani onto the Mark's table. Only then Mark will be able to relish the food. Okay, so there are 3 steps involved. So hotel, for you to get what you wanted, there are 3 steps involved. So server needs to understand your request, server needs to process your request, server needs to respond it back to you. You means Mark here. You means Mark. So Mark has ordered something. So once Mark has ordered, what is the server here? She needs to understand, she needs to process, and she needs to respond back. So software program is exactly same, guys. Software server, this was the hotel server, right? Sorry, restaurant server. This is the restaurant server, right? So even the software server exactly is the same thing. There it's a woman, here it is a computer program, here it is a computer program, and that computer program first needs to understand your request. Then once the program understands your request, then it has to process your request, means get it done. Okay, and then finally send the response back. So there also, if the server once got the biryani done, if she is keeping it with herself, Mark can never eat that food. Here also, the computer program, after processing your request, if it is keeping with itself, it is of no use. It has to send it back to the client. So send the response back. So let's explain. I'll explain the same thing. In this picture here. Okay, let's say it's a Facebook application. Let's say it is a Facebook application. Okay. Our Cindy likes the biryani as well. Wonderful. Just like me, there are good biryani lovers here. So imagine like how much I love biryani to add. So as to include that in my slides. Okay. So you see, let's say it's a Facebook server. Facebook server means what? It's a computer program. Okay. So let's say this is a program. Okay. Now, as a client, who is the client in this picture? When I said client in this picture is anybody who uses Facebook application, they are the client over here. In this picture that I'm talking about, when I say client, you see, I'll say here, I'm saying this desktop as a client, right? So who is the client here? Whoever is accessing this facebook.com, that guy is a client. Okay, that's what I'm referring to client in this picture. Generally in my classes, if I refer to client as in the owner of the application. But here, especially in these pictures from the next 2 to 3 days, whenever I say client, this is what whoever is using the Facebook application or whoever using that particular application, that is the client. Okay, since we are talking about Facebook servers, so whoever is using the Facebook application, that is the client. If I say Gmail servers, whoever using the Gmail application, that's the client to the Gmail application. Okay, so I use client for 2 ways here. Depending on the situation, understand guys. Depending on the situation, understand that he is the business owner or he could be the guy who is using the application. So for both the people I refer to as clients. Depending on the situation, you need to understand. When I refer to as client, depending on the situation, you need to understand if it was the business owner of the application or is the guy who is using the application. Okay. So here, the guy who is using the application, or in other words, he will be using the application in the browser, right? He cannot use it on a notepad or a Word document or something. He has to use it from the browser. So the browser is the client. Typically, the browser is the client. Okay, so the guy who is using that Facebook application could be the client, but how he will use it? He'll use it through the browser. So typically, the browser is what we call it as a client. So now the client, which is the browser, is using facebook.com. So you typed www.facebook.com on your browser and click enter and click enter. So without your knowledge, internally what is happening? A request is sent to the Facebook server. A request is sent to the Facebook server. In the earlier example, in the restaurant, what was the request? I want the biryani. That was the request. Here, what is the request? I want the home page of Facebook. Irrespective of whatever it is a request. There, it was a restaurant server. She was a lady. Here, it is a Facebook server, which is a software program. Now, this software program, which is a server, when can you call this as a server? First, it has the capability to understand the request. The request is, I want the Facebook homepage. So this server understood that the client wanted the homepage of Facebook. Now it understands. It has to process the request. What is the next step? It has to process the request. Okay, it has to process the request. Sorry, it has to process the request. Process the request means it has to build that Facebook homepage. The server has to build that Facebook launch page, or whatever you call it. You know, what was the home page or launch page, whatever you want to call it. Let's start calling it as a launch page. Okay, so it has to build that launch page. It has to build that launch page, and once it has built that launch page, it is just like your server, right? She wants to get the biryani done, so she went to the kitchen and she got it done. So here also this server has to get that request process, which means that it has to build that Facebook launch page, and once that is done, it is keeping with itself, it's of no use. It has to send the response back. It has to send the response back to the client so that he will be able to see that launch page. Can you see this launch page now? Yes, you could see this launch page because the server has built this launch page and it is not keeping it with itself. It has sent it to you so that you can see it and enjoy it. Okay, see it and enjoy it. Now, as a client, would you keep it? Would you keep quiet? No. You would send a next request. What is that request? You enter the username. That's not the request. You enter the password. That's not a request. But once you click on the login button, this is when a new request is sent to the Facebook server. A new request is sent to the Facebook server. Now, server again needs to understand your request that you want to log into the application. Then again it has to process the request, which means that it has to check the username password is correct, and then it has to build that home page and it has to send the response back. And once you have sent the response back, you will be able to see this page, which is a wall, which is your wall, right? You will be able to see this page, which is a wall. Now, any software which has the capability to understand the request, process the request, send the response back, you can call it as a server. Okay, you call it as a server. Okay, so you said it needs to understand the client request. What were the requests here? First was the request for the launch page, then is the request for the login. Okay, process the request. The server needs to do accordingly the work and finally send the response back. Any software which has the capability to do that, any software which has the capability to do the above, you can call it as a server. Okay, now I'll ask you a simple question, guys. You went to a what do you say? I forgot. JC Penney? No. The equipment. Where do you buy this electronic stuff from in US? Fry's. I think if you're in Texas, you can go to a place called Fry's and you can buy electronic. Best Buy. Right. So Best Buy. Yes. So you went to Best Buy. Okay, Fry's or Best Buy, right? Yes. So you went to Best Buy or Fry's and then you bought a Microsoft Office. Okay, you purchased a Microsoft Office. So usually, typically what they give it in a form of a CD. Okay, so what do you have it on that CD? You have the software on that CD or a program. A computer program is lying on that CD. Now, tell me, just that you bought that, you bought it home, and now you're holding that CD with you. Will you be able to use that Microsoft Office just by holding that CD with your hand, holding that CD or DVD on your hand with your hand? Will you be able to use it? No. When can we use it? When can I use this Microsoft Office? When can you enjoy using it? When can you start using that Word or Excel or anything? We need to install it. Only when you install it, then you will be able to use it. right? Right? Okay, so installing means this software you are attaching with a hardware. That hardware could be your laptop or a desktop. Once this software it is attached with the hardware, then only you can enjoy that software. Similarly, you see, I've been telling that this server is a program. It is a software. It is a computer program. But do you think just the program is of any use unless you attach it with the hardware? No. The program by itself is of no use. When can you use it? When you attach that particular software with a hardware, then it is of some use. So in other words, this server has to be installed on your hardware. Your hardware could be your desktop or a laptop or a big servers. Okay. So whatever the hardware on which you install this software or server software, that hardware, people started calling that hardware as a server as well. Okay, so I'm telling you that software by itself is of no use, just like your Microsoft Office, just it is lying on a CD is of no use. When you go ahead and install it on a hardware, which is a laptop or a desktop, then you can start using it. Similarly, the server software is of no use only when you go ahead and install it on a particular hardware, which could be your laptop or a computer, or it could be any other hardware. Then you can start using this server program. And people over a period of time started calling this hardware on which this program is installed also as a server. Now the latest definition is the server is nothing but it is a combination of hardware and software. Just because just the software is of no use, so it's a combination of hardware and software. Now, Kumar, this software server, I have installed it on my laptop. Can I call this laptop as a server? Can any one of you answer it? I have this server software. I went ahead and installed it on a hardware, and hardware seems to be my desktop. Can we call this desktop as a server? Certainly yes. Yes. I'll give you a small example. When I came back from US, I started working in Bangalore for a small company, and they hardly have 50 people working. And then we had to build an internal application for ourselves. Since there are only 50 people who have to use this application, we have installed that software on a desktop machine. Okay, and we labeled it as software. Don't even turn it off, don't even touch it. Okay, so that desktop was a server. But the problem is it could support only 30 to 40 people at the point of time because it has limited hardware resources. Okay, so it is like a bike, and in a bike it can support only 2 people. If it was a truck or if it was a bus, it can support 50 people. If it was a train, it can support 300 people. Everything is a mode of transportation. So my desktop, why my bike has less hardware resources or a less smaller engine. My bus has a bigger engine, so it can support more people. My train has even bigger engine, so it can support even more people. Similarly, my desktop has a limited resources, so it can support only 30 people. But if I wanted an application so as to support 1,000 people, a desktop will crash immediately. It has to have a bigger resources. So a desktop or a laptop cannot provide those resources. So that's why you have these big server rooms. Okay, but even in the server rooms, you have the same components as to what you have in your desktop. What do you have it in your desktop? A processor, a RAM, and a hard disk. A processor, a RAM, and a hard disk. Even though in that big server rooms, which they keep it cool and they don't allow anybody, that server's rooms also have the same 3 components, which is a processor, a RAM, and a hard disk. But on a bigger scale. On a bigger scale. Are you getting it now? I can use a laptop or a desktop as a server, no problem, but it can support only limited people. And if you're using a laptop or a server for a small phase and for a big application like Facebook, it will crash immediately. Crash means it will say, I cannot take this load, I'm dying. Okay, so that's what it is. So Narasimha, I'll take that question later because I'm not able to understand when you say it should connect. Okay, so I'll take that question offline with you. Okay. So Sri, are you concurring with Narasimha Reddy when you said yes? I'm not able to understand. It should connect. What do you mean by it should connect? It should connect to the outside world. Definitely yes. That's right. It should connect to the outside world. If you can have your desktop do that as well. I've used a lot of servers which happen to be desktops and laptops which to take care of it. And once you install your load runner, your desktop is becoming a server. I'm going to show that to you as well. Okay. Once we install the load runner, there is an application called WebTools which gets installed, and you have to start the server over there. And once you start the server, your desktop is a server. So we'll tell. Okay, Sri. Okay, Sri. Sorry about that. Yes. Okay, fine. So, Narasimha Reddy, I'll take your question a little later. Okay. I'm just building up the theory, but in the real world, nobody would use a desktop laptop as a servers because it can support very limited people of 10 to 20 or 25 people, and you don't want to build an application which can support only 25 people in the real world. Okay. But yes, it can be used if you really wanted it to. Okay. So that's what is the question. Can I use my laptop desktop as a server? Certainly, yes. Okay, certainly, yes. Certainly, yes. So let's go a little deep dive into this server part. Okay. Now, there are different kinds of servers. We'll look into these servers so you get a flavor for these servers. Okay. If the software is dealing with the request related to the files, okay, if the software can only serve the request which is related to the files, then we call it as a file server. Okay, it cannot understand anything else. You send a request to print, it cannot understand. You send a request to login, it cannot understand. You send a request to sign off, it can understand. It cannot understand. It can understand only the request related to the files, which means that I want that file, it will give. Write to this file, it will write it. Okay, I want to delete this file, it will delete it. Anything related to the files, if he is able to accept that request, this software is able to accept that request and process it and sends you the response back. That kind of software or that kind of servers, we call it as file servers. We call it as file servers. Okay, I don't think you have much these days. If your software is dealing with only the request related to print, okay, this software which you have installed it on a particular desktop, and this software can take only requests related to the prints, and it won't understand any other request, it won't process any other request, it will process only the request related to the print, then you call it as print servers. These days this print servers is installed inside those big machines. The printer machines, automatically the print server is already installed inside it. But a while back, 10 years back, we used to install it on a particular desktop and this print server, and everybody used to send a request to that print server, and one by one it used to print. Okay, imagine an office having 100 people and everybody is sending the print request. So there will be a print server. First this request would go to, it will all queue up and it will process one by one and it will print it out to you, and it will even send a message to a desktop over here on the task manager. I remember using this print servers. Over here in the task manager, somewhere over here, if you say right click, it will say your file is in the queue and it is printed. It will say your file is printed so that you can go get it. So if the software is dealing only with this print request, then you call it as a print server. Okay, so if your software, this is the beautiful thing guys, if your software is dealing only with the request related to the data, then you call it as what? Database server. Then you call it as what? Database server. If your software is only, pay attention guys, if your software is dealing with related requests related to only data, it can understand only the request related to data, nothing else it will understand. Okay, then you call it as a database server. Can you name one software such like that? Any software which deals only with the data, can you name one software like that if you have heard about it? Wonderful sir, in Oracle is the software. If you have worked, I work for small companies guys, everything I had to do, even though I worked as a tester, every damn thing I had to do. So I had to even install Oracle software and prepare this server. You don't believe. Okay, so for a while I became an Oracle admin as well. Okay, I install that. Oracle doesn't come with hardware. It is a software which it comes in the form of a CD, or you can download it from the internet. And you go ahead and install it on a particular hardware, and now that hardware with that particular software becomes a database server. Like this, there are multiple softwares from different companies. You have Microsoft SQL Server, which comes from the SQL. There is Teradata. There is MySQL. There are a lot of softwares like that. Okay. Okay. So, so these softwares could be prepared by different companies. So there could be different softwares. But understand that these softwares can only understand requests related to the data. It cannot understand any request related to the data. And from the client, when you have to send the request in a particular format, you can send the request. Now, if you have ever used it, okay, let me see. I'll come back to that format little later because I have the next slide. Okay. Finally, if the software is dealing the related, if the request related to the application, then what do you call those server as? If the software is dealing with the request related to the application. Application as in, it could be a Facebook application, it could be a Gmail application, it could be your Amazon application, it could be any application. So if this software is dealing with the request only related to that application and nothing else, then what do you call that server as, guys? What do you call that server as? Application server. You see, application server. So application servers takes the request related to only that application. Like I wanted to log into that application. Now that request is specific to that application. I wanted to add something to the cart. That request is specific to that application. It has nothing to do with data. It has nothing to do with printing. It has nothing to do with files. It has nothing to do with anything. So it is related to that particular application. So you call this as application server. So these kind of requests typically the application server will serve. Every application has an application. You have a Facebook application, then you have a Facebook application server. You have a Gmail, it has its own application. You have a Amazon, it has its own application. You have a Facebook, you have its own application server. So everything has its own application server, and these application servers will take those requests specifically to that application. Gmail request you cannot send it to Facebook application server. Facebook request you cannot send it to Gmail application server. Every application has its own application servers. Okay. Now the same thing I am trying to explain it over here. Server sends a request for files. You see, from the client, you're sending a request for the files. You see, server receives the request to the files. Now this software understands your request, processes the request related to the files, and sends the response back. Then you call this as a file server. Then you call it as a file server. Similarly, okay, if this server, if this server, which is a software, okay, so will receive the request related to the print, will process the request related to the print, and then sends the response back. Then this is a print server. Similarly, the database, okay, the database here is the database server or a software. You see, a software which is a database server receives the request related to the data, and it will process the request and sends the response back. We call it as a database server. And when the server from the client, when you send a request to the database, it has to be sent in a particular format. You look at the format how the request needs to be sent. You see, select start from table 1 where the username is Kumar. In this format you have to send. You cannot send it in any random format. There is a particular way you have to send a request to the database server. Only then it will understand. Otherwise the database server will not, or the software which we call it as a database server will not understand your request. Look at the format how you have to send it. Select start from table 1 where username is Kumar. By doing this from the client in this format, you have to send the request to the server. By doing this, what you are telling, there is a table called table 1 in your database. Go to the table. In that there is a username called Kumar. Search for that and then select and send all that related data. Star means everything related to that Kumar. So star means everything related to this particular record called Kumar. Give it to me. That's what you are saying. So By sending this, what you are telling to the database software, you are telling that there is a table called table 1 in your database. Go to that table 1, search with the username Kumar, and once you have searched, send me all the data related to the Kumar. How do I say I'm sending me all the data related to the Kumar? Star means everything. Star means everything. So this is what you are requesting from the database server. This being the database server, or this being the software, it will understand your request because you have sent it in a way that it will understand. Then it will process your request, which means that it will go to the table, it will search for the Kumar, and it will pull all the data, and it will send the response back. So that data will be sent to you, to the client. That data will be sent back to you, the client. Okay, you see, database server not only a software which will understand, process, and send. It will store all the data with itself. It will store all the data with itself. Okay, and application server, you see, you send a request. Okay, it send a request. Let's say it's a Facebook. As I've told you. Okay, I'm going to stop it right now, guys. I'm going to stop it right now. Everybody is walking away. So after this slide, I will stop. You see, from the client, you're sending a request to this application server. Let's say it's a Facebook application server. It will understand anything related to the Facebook. Let's say you have sent a login request. This being a software, it will understand your request that you want to log in, process your request, which means that it will build the next page. It will check your username, password is right, and all that, and it will send the response back, which means that it will allow you to log in. And then this is what you call it as an application server. What does it contain? It contains business logic. I'll talk about it tomorrow. What is a business logic? I'll talk about it tomorrow. What is a business logic? Okay, for me to tell you what is the business logic, I have to go through the application layers. So tomorrow it will be a very, very interesting session, guys. Lot of people who are working in the industry, even for 6 to 7 years, they will have something to learn tomorrow. I'll promise you. Okay. So see you tomorrow, guys. See you tomorrow, and at the same time at 6:30 India time, 6 p.m. Pacific time. Okay. This session got recorded. I'll send you the recorded video probably in a couple of hours time. Okay. So any questions can stay back, or others can leave. I'll be here. I'm stopping the recording.